So, you're all welcome to class. And like I said, today is going to be on data cleaning, right? Yes, it's going to be on data cleaning. So basically, I'm going to be talking about data cleaning and what is the idea of data cleaning. All right. So now, data cleaning is, when you hear the word data cleaning, what comes to your mind? Data cleaning, data cleaning. Now, data cleaning is just preparing your data for analysis. Yes, preparing your data for what? Analysis. Now, it's just like you want to eat. Yes, you want to eat a meal and you realize that that meal you want to eat, the plate is dirty. The plate is dirty. So what do? You need to clean that plate, wipe off the stain from the plate so that the plate can be prepared, right? The plate can be prepared enough for, you know, for you to eat that food, whichever food you want to eat. Yes. So it is very, very important that um, you prepare the plate for you to eat that food. Now, that process of cleaning the plate, washing the plate, preparing the plate, or even pots, like you want to cook a food, right? You need to prepare the pot for what? For the food you want to cook, right? That process of preparing that pot, cleaning the pot and all is the same thing as data cleaning. So I want to clean my data. The idea of data cleaning is I'm going to check out if there are null values. Yes, null values. Now, null values are also called missing values. Yes, null values are also called what? Missing values, or we call it empty values. Yes, empty values. So there are missing values, empty values. Yes. Now, we also have I'm going to also check for duplicates. Yes, duplicates. I'm going to check for duplicates. I'll also be checking for what is called outliers. And also, I'll also check if my data is in the right format. Yes, is numbers, is text, text. Right? Now, all of these things are things I'm going to check for. Now, let's talk about the null values or missing values, right? Now, the null values are located in your rows, right? So just for example, now we have data, arranged in rows and in columns. Yes, data arranged in rows and in column. And let's say there's a data here, a data here, a data here, a data here, and there's a data here, then this place is missing. We have a data here is missing. There's a data here. You get now, each of these missing values, right, can affect your results if you don't undo it. Like if you don't undo it. So how do you undo missing values? Two ways. You can either drop the missing rows. Yes, you can either drop the role that has the missing value. Yes, you either drop the role with the missing value, you drop the row with the missing value, or you drop the entire column. So I can either drop the role with missing value, or I can drop the entire column where the missing value is. And what is the condition for dropping row or dropping the entire column of missing values? Now, it's very simple, right? So dropping rows and dropping columns, what's the condition? Now, if I have more than 5 to 10% of my data missing, now I can conclude that the number of missing values are so large and the possibility of me replacing those values will not be easy. It's just like um me having 70K, that's 70,000
Check
rows.
pé sísá yìí.
70,
Check pé sísá yìí.
I have 70,000 rows, right? 70,000 rows. Now, 70,000 rows of my entire data set, right? And the 10% of this 70,000 is, that's 10 divided by 100, right? Times 70,000. So the 10% of this 70,000 will be, of course, this would cancel this, right? So we have this would cancel this. So at the end of the day, we're going to be having 7,000. Yes, 7,000. It means that 7,000 of my entire data set is missing. 7,000 of 70,000 is missing. You get. Now, how do you want to replace 7,000 rows that is having missing values? It could be difficult, right? So now, once you know that the number of missing values are more than 5-10%, the best thing is to drop the row that has those missing values if it is not too important, or you drop the column. But the thing is, if that row or that column is important where the missing value is located, you won't be having, of course, if the row or the column is very important, you won't be having missing values much, right? Like that. Yes. If a column is important, just like you are trying to analyze employee, you want to check out something like salary and all, right? You now realize that age is a major, yes, is a major column that you need for your analysis. And you now see something like 20% of your age column missing. Now, what could be the problem? It could be that they did not apply the right validation process, right? Now, for numerical values, you can easily replace numerical values with their respective average or mean. Average is also the same as what? Mean. So for numerical values, replace missing values with the average value. Yes, the mean value. Now, so you now realize that 20% of your data set is missing. That's the problem. 20% of 7K, 70,000 is 14,000. So how do you replace 14,000 data out of 70,000? That is not a good one, right? So most of the time you have missing values from maybe columns that may not be, especially when the missing values are a bit large. It may be column that may not necessarily have much to really talk about, right? Now, but if it is in that scenario, right, like you have about 8% of your data set missing from a particular column, you can actually replace the value. If it is numerical value, replace it with what? With the average value. If it is not a numerical value like text, you can replace it with a defined text. Yes, you're probably defined text. Maybe like, for example, country. You have a country column. Let's say you have a country column. Let's say this is country column that you have some missing values. You can just replace those missing values with like others, right? So other countries that have that sales is this. So that could be, just use a word that could describe better, right? But mind you, you won't be having much of missing values from columns that are very important. Now, that is one, drop column or drop rows. Now, number two is replacing, right? Which I've talked about. You replace um with the mean, right? Now, you drop when you have too many missing values, right? More than 10%, you drop it, just drop it. You understand? Now, the next one is duplicates. How do we undo duplicates? Now, if you have duplicate values, there's a problem. It means that your analysis will not be correct. Like, maybe say, let's say, for example, you're trying to calculate total sales that's supposed to be for 440K total sales. But because there is a row that is duplicated, your analysis of your total sales might now jump to something like 142K because of that duplicate row, which means that this this one is not correct, right? And how do you know that there's a duplicate? There is a way Python can help you detect duplicates in your data set. Now, let's talk about outliers. Now, outliers are unusual data points. They are data points that you don't need, right? Or let me say they are data points that you find in your data set that ordinarily they are not supposed to be there. Maybe, for example, due to wrong computation of data, they were found, right? Maybe when they were computing the data, yes, when they were computing the data, they miscompute the data. Yes, they miscompute the data. So in such a case, there are possibilities or there are tendencies that we're going to be having outliers in our data sets. Yes, there are tendencies to be outliers. There are unusual data points. I'm going to show you how to detect outlier in a data set. So first and foremost, I have a data set here, which we're going to be working with to actually talk about all of these things we are talking about, right? Just a moment. I have a data set I would like us to use. Okay, so we're going to be using a data set which we were talking about yesterday, right? But we'll just revisit it again. So the name of the data set is called what's it called now? It's called new emp, right? So this new emp, this is the data set. Yes. So I'm going to open one of the data set now. I'm going to open one of the data sets so you can just possibly see it. Yes. So one of the data sets, this is data set, right? So now we have some missing values. Like this is missing. Yes, this is missing. This is missing. This is missing. So this value is missing. And if you go down again, there are also values that you also find. I think, yes, this one is missing also, right? So now that is for missing values. Now for outliers, look at this employee salary. Now, if I'm to use Excel now to calculate the maximum salary, let's say the maximum salary for my employee, let me see, if I'm using Excel to calculate the maximum salary for this now, I'm going to be having this as maximum salary, right? Yes, I'm going to be having this as maximum salary. Yes, as maximum salary. Now, if I'm going to be checking for the minimum salary, that's if I'm using Excel to check for minimum salary, I'm going to be having what? I'm going to be having this. So we're having 340 as the minimum salary, and we're having this as what? The maximum salary, right? So that's it. So we're having this as a maximum salary, this as how can somebody's salary be 340? And if we are to check for the average salary in Excel, it's going to look like this. Yes, the average salary will look like this. So that means any salary that is too low, right? It's too low, very, very low. It means that there's a problem. So this can be an outlier. Well, this is not Excel class. Anyways, but to get the minimum, is just to say it's equal to mean. Then you highlight the column where you want to find the minimum. Then if you want to find the maximum, it's just to say max. Then you highlight the column where you have the value. Now, then this is the what? The average. Well, this let me just copy and paste this as value, so it won't be changed. All right, so that's fine. So now we have this, right? We have, we have this, and we have this. So now, if this is a minimum salary and this is a maximum salary, now it could be two things. Something is wrong. Now, the average salary is like this. So any value that is of course, the value that you should have as salary should not be too much less than this and must not be too much above this. So that means there are possibilities that this can be what? An outlier. Now, there is a way to represent this kind of data in form of a chart to identify an outlier. Now, this is just the Excel data, right? I just want to show you the Excel data. Now, let me deliberately create duplicates from this data. Let me make number 4 and number 5 to be duplicates. So I'll just copy this and I'm going to insert it. All right, fine. So I deliberately created a duplicate. Number 4 and number 5 is now a duplicate deliberately. Now, how do I begin to work with this data, right? How do I begin to work with this data? So I'm going to, let me just save this data set, right? I'm going to save it in where I can locate it, yes. So I'll just save it in where, maybe my desktop, right? I'll just save it. I can just call it new, I can just call it okay, let me say new emp. Yes, let me say new emp. New emp Yes, it should be an Excel file. An Excel file. Yes. So it is saved now. So now I want to work with this data set. I want to carry out cleaning process in this data set, remove null values or probably fill it with a value, and also check out for outliers from this data set and also check out for duplicates. Fine. So how do we do this? Now we're going to go to our Jupyter notebook. Yes. So this is our Jupyter notebook. Our Jupyter notebook. This is our Jupyter notebook, right? So fine. We have been working with, we have been doing some couple of things. Yes, some couple of things. So let me just delete this one. This is a data set that we used before, but I want to just delete it so that it will not conflict each, right? I'll just delete these two data sets. So I'll just delete it. Fine. Okay, so that is gone. Yes, that is gone. So now this is my work. I want to now import that data set I just, saved here. I want to import it here, right? So I'm going to click on upload. Now, if I'm too fast, let me know. I would minimize, right? So I'll click on upload. Then I'll go and locate where I have the data set. I think I have it in my desktop. Yes, in my desktop. So the data set is called, what was it called? It is called, after the class, I just sent it. I sent some minutes ago, I sent data set to you to the platform. I will resend it again because of the current changes I made. So this is data set. I'll just import it. So it is currently what imported as an Excel file. We have been using CSV before. Like this one is a CSV file. Now this one is an Excel file. How do we load an Excel file in our what data set? I'm going to show you that now. So let's click on new Python file to start with. So we have a new Python file to start with. All right. Now we have a new Python file. So let me just rename this to data cleaning. Yep. Data cleaning. So we have this, right? Data what? Data cleaning. Just a moment. Why is it not responding? Let me click this back. All right, so let me just rename this to what? Data cleaning. Well, it did not respond, no issue. So now let me just import my pandas. That's the first thing as what? PD. So I'm going to import my pandas as what? PD. So that's the first thing you need to do. Import what? Pandas as what? PD, right? So this is, my pandas is what? Already imported. Now, the next I'm going to be doing now is to load my data set. That's data exploration, loading of your words, of your data set. So I'm going to load my data set now. How do you load your data set? Now, loading your data set is not difficult. It's not a big deal. Yes, it's not a big deal. It's not difficult. All right. It's not difficult. It's not also a what? A big deal as well. So we're going to load our data sets. Now, so I will just come here and I will say, I can say df is equal to pd.read. Now, to read an Excel file, I'm going to say excel. If it's an Excel file, then I will pass the name of the data set called new dot, don't forget the format, dot what? Let's go down. The format of data set is what? Dot xlsx, right? So I'll just come here and say dot xlxx. All right. Then I will just say df dot add, and I want to just get the first 6 records of my data set. So once I run that, I should have this. So this is the first 6 records of my data set. Now, how many rows and how many columns do we have? Let's check for the shape of our data set. I'm going to say df.shape. So df.shape would give me the shape of my data set, which means that I have 1,473 rows and I have 4 columns. 4 columns. All right. Now, if I want to just be sure, like I want to see my columns in text form, not just telling me how many, I will say df.columns, right? So df.columns will give me all the columns that I have, right? Fine. So after I've done that, I want to check for the description of my data set, df.describe. That's descriptive statistics of my data set, which consists of the count, the mean, the standard deviation, the minimum, and so on and so forth, and the maximum, right? So now that's the standard deviation of the description, descriptive statistics of my data set. I want to check for the information of my data set. What does it like? What is the information of my data set? So once I run this, this is the information of my what? Data set. Now, let's dive into data cleaning proper. Data cleaning. All right, data what? Cleaning. So I'm going to take this down to a markdown file. All right, then I'm going to give it an header of 4. Perfect. All right. So we have data cleaning, right? Now, the first thing, like I said, we need to check for null values, duplicate outliers, and format, right? Now, the first thing is what? Null values. Null values are missing values in your data set. Now, before I proceed, I'm seeing somebody here called Bashidoshi Musa. So, Bashidoshi Musa, can you tell me what are null values, please? Bashidoshi Musa, can you tell me what are null values?
Yes, no values are values that have missing values in their there's rows that have missing values.
All right, okay. You are right. That's not what null values. So now, how do we undo those null values? They are not difficult, right? Which I've explained to you guys how to undo those, when you encounter, when you see null values, right? So let's quickly undo null value before this meeting runs out. Okay. Now, to undo null value is not a big deal. Yes, it's not a big deal. So let's proceed now. So I'm going to check for the null values. I'm going to say df dot is null. Now, is null is a method used for checking null values. It means check if there are missing values in this data set. That is the idea of what? The idea of what is null. So check if there are missing values in our what? Data set. So what I would just do now is I would just say check, then get me the sum of all the missing values in my what? My data set. So once I run this, it will tell me, oh, you're having 0 missing values for employee ID, 8 values missing for age, 0 for department, 0 for salary. So that means our affected rows is in age. Affected column also is in what? Now, let's check for, I told you need to check for the percentage of missing values to the entire values. Now, so how do I check for the percentage of the number of missing values? How many percentage of this 8 to my entire value? First, I will need to get my total number of rows I have. Total number. So I'll just check, I'll just say total, I can call it any name. I can say total value is equal to any name. I can say total value is equal to len. Get me the length of my df, right? Get me the length of my df. Yes. So if I now say total value, this would give me what? 1,473. That means the length of my df, that is my entire data set, is 1,473 rows. That's to get for the what? Total value. Now, let me get for the total number of missing values for my age. Total age missing. So this will now become df dot is null. Yes, but I am peculiar for what? Age, right? So for me to get only age, I'm going to put this inside the square brackets and put the age inside. Now let me just explain the idea of this, right? Let me just quickly explain the idea of this. Now look at in Python. Now let's say, for example, yes, for example, right? Now in Python, for example, yes. Now, if you want to get, like, we have 4 columns here, right? Let's say you want to get 1 column out. Let's say for age. This is how you just do it. You just put df in square bracket age. You get only for age. Now, This will give me only for age. Let's say you can do it like this, and you can as well do it like this, dot age. Yes. So either you do it that way or you do it like this, it will still work. Now, the only way I may not want to use this method is when I'm having some like a kind of column that looks like, let me say, something like age value. Age value is like a column, for example. Now, there's a space in between. This kind will not work. So it's better I just use this, right, to get only for age. Now, if I want for multiple columns, like more than one, I'm going to use two square brackets. Sorry, two square brackets inside, right? So this is two square brackets. Yes, I'm going to be using two square brackets. So I'm going to get for age. And let's say I want to get for, oh, sorry, this is not correct. It's just supposed to be age, not dot. All right, so let me remove the dot. So I'm going to get for age. I want to get for age. I want to also get for, let's say I want to get for salary. Yes, and I want to get the first, or let me say um, random 5, the random 5 values. So you can see I have age and salary. So just use this square bracket to get multiple columns, 2 or more. Can we put it in square bracket with put inverted comma? Which one is inverted comma? This is how you do it. This is the way you can do it. This is just the way you can do it. All right, so this is just it, right? Perfect. So let's continue. So now we want to get total number of age missing values. So I'll just say dot sum. Okay. Now if I try to print out, let me try to print out total age missing, it will give me 8. That means I'm having 8 values for the age that is what's missing. Now, don't forget, to calculate number of missing values is not difficult. Number of missing values is just telling us that the total number of values that is missing is just saying missing values divided by the total value times what? Times 100. Missing values divided by the total values times what? 100 will give us a percentage of the missing values. All right. And we have already done calculations. I can now say percent, yeah, total age. I can say total, any number. I can say total age missing. Or no, total percent. Okay, let me say percent age missing. Let me say percent age missing. So this will now become, this, or this, yes, this, that's total of the age value missing divided by the total value, all in brackets, times what? Times 100. So if I now try to print out the percentage that is missing, I'm going to have this. So I'm having 0.54. Yes, I can take this in 2 decimal places. I'll just put round and do this. Now, if I say round, if I want to put this in 2 decimal places, just to add my comma, yes, I will just add, oh, sorry. This is supposed to be missing. Sorry, I'll just add my comma, then put it in 2 decimal place. So this will give me 2 decimal place. Just say round method in bracket of that variable, then put how many decimal place you want. So the percentage of my missing values is not even up to 1%. So that means I can replace it. So I can replace it with the mean value. All right. So now I told you that there are 2 ways. Either you replace with the mean values if they are not more than what? More than how many percent? If they are not more than what's it called now? If they're not more than 10%, right? You can replace. Now, there are 2 ways. Now, let me show you how to replace with. Okay, before I show you how to replace, I want to show you how to drop rows that are missing. How do you drop rows that are missing? Like, let's say you have rows that are missing. How do you drop it? And also, how do you also drop columns that are missing too? Now, if there is a column that is missing in my data set, the best way to drop that column is to exclude the column from other ones, right? I can just easily drop the column, or I can exclude the column. Yes, I can either drop the column or what? Exclude the column. Let's say I have too many missing values for my age. I want to exclude the age column. Of course, I have how many columns? I have 4 columns: employee ID, age, department, and salary. So I don't want that age column. I can just say new df, just pass a new variable. I can just say df get me the employee underscore ID, get me the department of the employee, and get me the salary of the employee. So once I just come and I say the new df, now that means instead of me saying df now, I'm going to be using this new df for my analysis. I won't be using df again, right? Or if I want to just use df. Now, if I do this, if I say df, right, it means that my current df will now be this. Okay, let me run this. Let me just run this. I will show you. Let me just run this. So let me use this now. You will now see. Let me run this now. You can see my current df is now employee ID, department, and salary. I have excluded age. That is one way of dropping age. It's like excluding age, right? Excluding what? Excluding age. All right. Now, how do we exclude columns? Like, this is now my new df. So for me to still maintain age, if I try to put age here to throw me an error message because I've already excluded age and I've passed these current changes to my new df, to my df. So if I try putting age here to throw me an error message telling me that what? Age is not in index because it's no longer seeing age again. So the best thing for me to do is to go up where I first loaded my data set, which is this place, and run it again so that it can get back age. So I'll just go back here.